Number 90, Luke Blau. Luke receives a certificate in his letter tonight as well. Also, Luke is a scholar athlete. He's a tight end and defensive end for us. He also, when he came up to varsity, helped us out by snapping on punts, taking over a role to give someone else a break on the field. Luke, one thing good about Luke, he always leaves everything he has out on the field, giving it his all at all time. He's another quality player we look forward to see next year. Luke Blau.
I'm not going to have time to do this whole thing, so I'm going to take a quick picture here of all that.
AJ Lay, number 3. AJ receives his certificate and letter tonight. He is also a scholar athlete. AJ played quarterback for us, did a great job of learning the position. I pulled out some notes from last year and I found out from what AJ did as a junior this year, he was a little bit ahead of what our junior was the year before, which makes me think I'm in for a bright future with AJ. Although he still has to learn how to take my wrath at times, being the leader of the offense in that, he knows I'm going to come down on him first. He has a bright future with us, and we look forward to AJ leading us next year again. AJ Lay. At times moving him from line to back or back and forth. He was a solid starter, though, for us at defensive end with a great work ethic. One thing about him, though, I know he confused Coach Pushman this year when he had to go ahead and get a haircut and threw them all off. Coach Pushman thought we got a new player.
Yeah, and afterward looked like Q-tip.
I know this much from Ben. With the way he plays the game intelligently and the way he works after it and goes after it, he'll be an outstanding player for us next year again. Ben Cox. Number 31, Kyle Van Leuven. Kyle receives us in the game at Stony Creek, and what he did to help the team out was tremendous. We keep him going now with that experience. Hopefully, he'll be able to get himself with his health being 100% this year. Now that we can get him stronger and keep his speed going, we look forward to better things from Kyle next year. Kyle Van Leuven. Next, number 59 or 87, depending on which day we need them. Mike Dura. Mike receives his certificate and letter tonight. Mike is also a scholar athlete. He was also honorable mention All-League offensive line. And this is someone who started the year as a backup tight end. He plays not only with the strength, but the smarts. He did an outstanding job for us when we asked him to move down to the offensive line, which shows in the coaches in the league voting for him as honorable mention. We look forward from a lot of good things from Mike next year. Mike Durham. Andy, I know he always runs good routes and he has terrific hands to catch. Evidence in what he showed in, I believe it was the Pier West or Linden? The Pier West game on the sideline. We had a lot of debate going about which game that was. It was a while ago, but I know I remember it vividly. He kept his toes right in bounds as he kept his concentration and brought the ball in for a big first down for us. Catches like that, there's no doubt in my mind that Andy's going to have a great year again next year. Andy tonight, he is also one of our scholar athletes. He played tight end and defensive end for us. He's a solid player all the way around. Again, one of those guys that plays it with technique and smarts and can beat a lot of people just by being at the right place and in the right position. He also, a good thing about Neil here is that he always plays with his heart. Again, he's one of those guys that will give everything he has and leaves it on the field. Whether that type of a player, we look forward to seeing him out there again next year. Neil Blau. During the games that he'd always come up to me and says, "Coach, wherever you need me, here I am, I'm ready to go." So I know if we can get him in that weight room, get his speed down a little bit more, he's going to be a benefit to us next year in our program. Jeremiah Clone. At this time, if we could have our seniors come up. named the head coach here at Fenton. These young men were 8th graders, and I brought them in. And I let them know what it was going to take to go through high school and what football could be for them. Unfortunately, we didn't obtain the high standards that I believe these guys deserve. But I tell you what, it was a fun class to have around. It was a bunch of great young men, and forever these guys will hold a special place in my heart. And I'd like to thank them very much for the 4 years I've had with them. Start off, number 1, Craig Stankovic. Craig receives a certificate, a service bar, and his 4-year award tonight. He's a defensive back for us that played through injuries, but you know what? Always kept us when we needed it and kept the team spirits up as well. One young man we'll truly miss, Craig Stankovic. And that's from a wrestler.
Yeah.
Number 4, Kyle Bomarito. Kyle receives a certificate and a service bar and his 4-year award also tonight. Kyle was a wide receiver for us, and I gotta believe the highlight of his year this year, well, I can recall 2 of them very vividly. One was in the game against Oxford where he went up for a ball with a defensive back, and they both came down with the ball, and by gosh, being a receiver and wanting that reception, Kyle was not going to let go of it. He also made a fantastic block in the Brandon game, springing Drew Pollard in for a touchdown. Kyle always had high energy, and we will miss him as well. Kyle Bomarito. Number 16, Jay Kelso. Jay receives a certificate, a football pin, and a service bar tonight. Jay was a kicker for us. He was also a star on the soccer team for the high school. What was really nice to have Jay around is especially in the Brandon game when he came up with 2 big field goals for us that helped us win, which was by the margin of victory, 6 points for the game. I'm going to have to go searching now to find somebody. It was great to have him help us out for 2 years. Jay Kelso. Number 17, Bill Borges. Bill receives his certificate and letter tonight. He was a wide receiver and defensive back for us. It was his first year playing, which put him behind most other seniors. But you know what? He always came ready, and he always told coaches on game days where he was and how he's ready to play. And we were glad to have him out this year. Just wish we would have had him sooner. Bill Borges. Number 24, Matt Magar. Matt receives his certificate and service bar tonight. He was a State Bank Athlete of the Week this year. He was also second team All-League at wide receiver and helped us also as a defensive back and punt returner. And this is going to kill Coach Brown. He tied the interceptions for a game record this year with 3 in the game against Oxford. And I had to make sure Coach Brown, being the defensive back coach, wasn't going to pull him, and I had to tell him he was staying in the game. Also, another record he set this year is the longest touchdown pass from scrimmage against Lapeer East. He was named the tall, jumping basketball guy, but I tell you what, I think he grew out of that into just one fine football player. He matured immensely this year from his junior year, and he'll truly be a player we'll miss. Matt Magar. The reason Coach Brown was wondering about pulling him out, he holds the record also with 3 interceptions in a game. Okay. Number 28, Nick Schmidt. Nick receives a certificate and a service bar tonight. He was also a scholar athlete in the Metro League. He receives his 4-year award and was the State Bank Athlete of the Week. Nick was also our athlete of the game against Holly. Nick was a running back that earned 2nd team All-League honors and probably would have earned 1st team if he hadn't hurt himself in a freak accident during practice. He showed what he could do in games against Holly and Brandon, and we were really looking forward to him to extend that at the end of the year. Unfortunately, his year got cut short. He's deeply a player that I know always gave it all and wanted nothing but the success for the team. From the workouts he had last year to what he did coming into the season and having himself ready, there's no other type of football player I'd like to have than a kid like Nick Schmidt. Sean receives a certificate and a service bar tonight. He also receives his 4-year award. He was a running back and defensive back for us this year, and when we called on him, he was ready to go. He came into the Oxford game, ran extremely well for us, but unfortunately, when he got there and again, another freak accident in practice hurt him and kept him out of the last game of the year. But I know he's right back at it, the type of young man he is. He's coming in the morning and getting himself ready for his next season, his wrestling, and I wish him all the luck in that, and we will miss Sean. Number 32, Drew Paladin. Drew receives his certificate and a service bar tonight. Drew also receives his 4-year award. He was also a State Bank Athlete of the Week and our player of the game for Linden. He also was a 2nd team All-League defensive back, and we thought he had tied a record, but I believe he broke the record for interceptions for a season with 7 this year. Coach Brown, unfortunately, couldn't keep that one at 6. Drew just did whatever he could for us at all times. When Nick got hurt, he came into the Oxford game, and in the first quarter, he had 11 carries for 83 yards and tearing it up before, unfortunately, we lost him to an injury as well. There's only one question about Drew I still haven't been able to figure out. In the Linden game, did you set everyone up going the wrong way on the punt first, or just forget which way the return was? Don't worry, I don't need the answer. Drew was a fantastic player for us, and I'll tell you what, someone we'll really miss next year. Drew. Yeah. Number 33, Joe Rabitas. Joe receives his certificate and service bar tonight. He was a linebacker and fullback for us. Joe didn't start the season as a starter for us, but worked his way in there. Unfortunately, once he got in there, again, a shoulder injury kept him out for a while. But to show the type of spirit and the type of grit this young man, he came back and at the end of the season earned that starting position again. Joe's another kid that we wish we could have back, but we will miss him and wish him all the well. Joe Rabitas. Number 35, Zach Tomazinski. Zewski. Sorry. Zowski? Zach receives a certificate and service bar tonight. He played defensive tackle for us. And as you may have heard, his nickname was Delaware. At least I thought it was until I heard Zeus tonight. I don't know what that is, but whatever it is, I hope it helps you out through wrestling. Zach, again, may not have been your typical big, burly defensive tackle, but I tell you what, he does have a sense of humor. But Zach used his quickness and his technique, and when he stayed low, was in on the quarterback and running backs faster than a lot of other defensive tackles could be. Going over a lot of the film after the season, I couldn't believe how many tackles he probably led the team in tackles behind the line of scrimmage. He would keep himself low and just move quick. Great job this year. It was only his second year at Fenn football, but he was a great addition to us. Zach, I'll leave it at that. Number 52, Nate Hickhoff. Nate receives a certificate, a football pin, and a service bar tonight. Nate played on the offensive line for us. One thing about Nate is I wish he would have been around a lot longer. He was a first-year player for us, and I think I goofed up here. I was after Nate for 3 years, and he wouldn't play, so finally I left him alone, and he came up to me and asked me if he could play, so I guess I should have left him alone earlier. But he made great progress this year. He played center, tackle, and back to center again for us, and played the positions well when he got in there. He had a great progression as he got through the year, and like I said earlier, I just wish I had more time for him with our program. Nate Hickhoff. Number 65, Adam Bates. Adam receives a certificate, a service bar, and his 4-year award tonight. Adam was also an honorable mention All-League defensive end. Played both offensive guard and defensive end for us this year. And one thing I know is Adam must listen, because for homecoming, when Coach Covert came in to talk to the boys and talked about smacking guys and knocking their helmets off and everything, Adam took it to heart, because I didn't think the quarterback Barry would get up much after the lick Adam put on him. And Adam was doing that all season long. Whether the play was run at him or away from him, he'd chase it down and made exceptional plays. Adam was just all over the field for us when we needed him on defense. It gave us a great effort all year. I'd like to thank Adam for his efforts, and I know we're going to miss him a lot. Adam Bates. Not the one I was thinking. Number 66, Nick Hodge. Nick receives a certificate and a service bar tonight. He played offensive line and defensive end at times for us. His best hit, he probably had the best hit of the season this year. Unfortunately, it was at practice against one of our own players, right, Robbie? We had to move Nick around at times from guard to tackle and back to tackle or guard. One thing we always knew when we defense, we knew we were just reloading with him at defensive end and not stepping down at all. He played for us everything he had at all times and will be missed a lot next year. Nick Hodge. Number 85, Matt Temple. Matt receives a certificate and a service bar tonight and his 4-year award. He was a defensive back and started as our long snapper until we gave him a break there. He had great speed, and he brought that speed to defense, not only to cover people in the field, but also to hit people hard. Again, another one that had one of those hits in Linden that just was bone jarring. Excuse me. I know one thing about Matt, though. When he puts his mind to something, he's going to give it all. And I know already he's setting his sight on the track season this year. and he's working with a bunch of the guys indoors. We wish him well, and we know we're going to miss Matt an awful lot. Matt Temple. Our last three gentlemen are our captains from this year. First of all, number 54, Rob Perry. Rob receives a certificate and service bar tonight. He also receives his 4-year award. Robbie is a first-team All-League punter, and I think he got gypped a little bit by not being recognized also as an All-League linebacker. Robbie gave us a great sacrifice this year. When we asked him, after moving him to fullback last year, asked him after the first couple games going back to the offensive line where we needed some help. Did it without hesitation to help the team. True leader in every sense of the word. As long as we can keep him from taking over the mic, we know we'll have a good evening here. But we know one thing about Robbie, we will miss his humor, his fun, and everything else. Robbie Perry. I just always...
Speech.
Number 58, Hamza Blackshear. Hamza receives a certificate and service bar tonight. Hamza was also a second-team All-League offensive lineman. Hamza came to us a few years ago in his sophomore year, never having played any athletics in school, and we started him off on the JV level, and the growth that this young man has, over the last few years has been phenomenal. There's a lot of things I could go on about Hamza, but I think he already understands most of it right now, how we feel towards him and his efforts and what he's done for our program and how he's grown as a young man and as a football player with us. We wish him all the luck, and we hope to see him in the near future playing on Saturday afternoons as well. Hamza Blackshear. Number 80, Jason Brown. Jason receives his certificate, service bar, his 4-year award tonight, and he was a State Bank Athlete of the Week this year. He was also honorable mention All-League tight end. Although in talking to coaches around the league, and this may not be the ones who were voting, everyone thought Jason was just about the best tight end we had in the league this year. He could go down and catch the ball. He had some of the best pairs of hands on the team when throwing to him. The only thing we had to make sure is when he caught the ball, he had to make sure just don't take it down to the 1 or 2 yard line. But even though he had another one of those this year, he did find the end zone. And he finally found out how to do it in Lapeer East when he had to go over the guy in order to get in, and buried him in the process. But in all honesty, what Jason did for us this year was truly outstanding. We counted on him a lot at the tight end position, not only to catch balls, but to block in our offense. We asked him to play defensive line, linebacker at times, back to defensive line, and he handled all the situations well. He's a wonderful player for us, and again, another one that could find, along with some of the other boys that may have missed, that could find himself in a few years on Saturday afternoon getting playing time as well. Jason Brown. Our 2003 seniors. Coach Pushman and Coach Herstein to come up to give our coaches awards. Either one of you can go first.
First, I'd like to thank Coach Buchanan for giving me this opportunity to coach. Hi, Tim. It was special to me. This season was special for two reasons. One, it was my first year coaching, and the other is gave me an opportunity something I've always wanted to do. Since I was a little kid, I was coach with my father. So I'd like to say thank you. That was fun. Mom probably didn't like it, too much time in football, but it was still fun for the father-son bonding time. Second, I'd like to thank all the coaches to help me improve and just to have a good time after the games and early Sunday morning pre-game for the next week. It was fun. Most of all, I'd like to thank all the guys down there. Guys, I will always remember you. Some of you I try to forget. Most of you, I'll always remember. This coach's award goes to a player that I feel, at any given time, I think he'll give his left arm for the team. He's also a guy that I could always count on. When we ran Scotto against our orange defense, no matter what position I needed, guard, tackle, tight end, receiver, running back, quarterback, whatever, he was always there. This coach's award goes to Jamie Ralston.
I'd like to thank everyone in this auditorium as well for giving me the opportunity to coach. I had a great time, so thank you all very much. This coach's award goes to a player who we felt needed to be recognized for the efforts he gave on Friday nights. He only played one side of the ball. I had the pleasure of coaching this kid most of the season. On Friday nights, he was all over the field from one side to the other, and sometimes he got a little emotional and he'd butt heads with the coaches, but that was because he was leaving it all out there on the field, and you really can't ask much more from that. Adam Bates.
Our next award is our Bob Middleton Defensive Award. We'll ask Papa Push to do this award.
Yes, that'd be me. That'd be me. Real quick, I have an audience and a mic and a stand. I can't afford not to take advantage of some of this. I want to thank everyone out there, you guys, who spend the time that you allowed me to be with part of your lives. Also, honey, thanks for the years. It's been great, huh? Now you get the TV at night, so we have to watch video. And Jimmy, it's been a pleasure coaching my son. It's been my dream, too. Thank you, Don, for bringing me back on board this year. Who knows if I'm going to be here next year? Who knows if I even should have been here this year? And also, I had the chance of being reunited with two buddies that we've coached for many years. And when we did away with the JV, we had a chance to have Kenny and I were coaching together. And it wouldn't be the same if T didn't join us. Almost like, where'd Kenny take off again? I tell you, I don't know about that. Anyway, we needed T to kind of settle down Kenny and I and everything. Also, you heard a lot of talk tonight. This is to the juniors and the sophomores and freshmen. Heard a lot of talk tonight about weight room. You can go to the weight room and do things. But like we said during our training time before the season, do something, make it count. Don't just go to the room, make it count. There's a couple out there, Q-Tip or ex-Q-Tip. You're a fine example of that, son, let me tell you. You know, I didn't know who you were when you came back, except for your hair. You got your hair cut, boy, it really threw me for a loop, son. Other than that, the Bob Middleton Defensive Award, that defensive award is set up for the person who's going to be, if they were off the field, they're mostly missed. Doesn't necessarily mean the person who has the hardest hits, the most quarterback sacks, the most interceptions, or anything like that. What it means is a person that, as Kenny took off, when Kenny came up, him and I both coordinated the defense. We as a team utilized Coach Brown up in the booth, what he saw from the booth, what we saw on the field, what the kids told us, and we tried to utilize that. And what player would we be mostly missing if they were not on the field? And that one is Drew Paladin. Drew?
Good. Now he comes back. Now he comes back. That's good. That's good.
Drew? Now the Mark Hover Award is Don.
Yes.
The next award
That puts himself above the team. Puts the team above. For the other plaque that stands in the trophy case that has all our names into this back in the 60s, that my name will now be sharing with these two boys. And I am so very, very proud of these two. From back in the flag football era before, from being ball boys, back when we did the flag football with my two chums over there. Chums, buddies, whatever you want to call them. And these two, we couldn't decide, had to go to two boys. And these two boys are Rob Perry and Jason Brown.
The award goes to Matt Mager.
These are the captains of the 2004 football team, varsity.
With okay, we'll start down there with Coach T. Coach T started coaching this year. He's a blast. And Coach T was fun. He was. I'm glad he came to coach this year. You want to give us the first group, Coach? First group! Little push. All right. Coach Brown, you are the best. You are. I'm glad you didn't get on my back about kickoff this year. I really am. I'm glad I didn't kick the ball. Yeah, that's all. Coach Bush, I'm glad you came back this year. You're a great coach, one of the best coaches I've ever had. But you don't make a lot of sense sometimes. softest mullet I've ever felt. The softest. All right, let's give out some gifts. Mitch, you want to come up here? That didn't go over so well. Coach Brown? Coach Papa Bush? Mr. Bates, you want to come up here?
Oklahoma, I don't know how many national titles he won, but he had this to say: once you've won or lost, it's behind you. What lies ahead is all that matters. And for our seniors, I think that's very true. You have so much that lies ahead of you right now. And we send you off with all our well wishes. And for our underclassmen, we want you to understand the same thing as you move forward. What lies ahead is all that matters. And what we do and how we go about getting there will depend on you.